After 4 weeks of Mega Rising, Ranked is officially back at reset. I'm here to give you basically every single top deck right now in one of the most craziest metas we've ever had. So first off, we're going to start with the Suicunes. There are 3 variants being played right now. There is this one that might be a little bit outdated, however some people do run it. So this is going to be the double Greninja, basically dropping the Giratina. This just makes the deck way better than stuff like Alteria as well as Blaziken. And even like the new Espeon variants that are coming around, that Greninja is like very essential to do some like damage, like high output damage like right away. So it's just a 2-2 line with the additional Greninja for the ping damage if you do want to go into that, you know, for an Oricorio out, as well as the double Suicune. A lot of lists are favoring like double Cyrus, double Irida, in either double Cape. So some people play like one Cyrus, double Cape, double Irida. Some people play like one Irida, double Cape, double Cyrus. Definitely personal preference. I've also seen Elemental Switch being played in this deck, as well as some decks have taken out stuff like the extra Irida, the extra Cyrus, to play that one of Frogadier, just to give the deck a little bit more play into Chingling. The next version is going to be the tried and true, the one Giratina, the double Greninjas, and the one Greninja EX as a tech option. This build has favored using stuff like May with the double Iridas and the double Capes. Although I've seen some people obviously taking in Frogadier in this version as well, taking out stuff like the May. I've also seen Copycat play some May. I feel like a lot of people don't really like May that much anymore. But it does make sense in this variant because you do have like one additional Pokemon. Sometimes you want to be able to find that Gren, swap something out, or choose which version of Gren you do want to go into. Yeah. Essentially the same thing. This version is a little bit better into Absols because you have the Greninja plus the Giratina Cyruses, as well as you have more Oricorio out. So if Oricorio is favored, this is probably like the better version of Suicune. Some people have also just dropped Giratina with the 2 regular Greninjas to place that Frogadier also to play around Chingling. So that is another option you can do. However, the last version of Suicune is going to be similar to the other one we just looked at and is basically the new variant that has been popping up recently. So this is going to be the Suicune with the 1 NDD package. So instead of playing 2 Iridas, why not just 1 Irida and then a constant Tony potion? This is a version. Like, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I don't know the specifics of what the NDD. Obviously a potion every single turn definitely does add up. And people are just dropping Giratina because Giratina, like I said, bro, it was really only good against Absol, Ori, and that deck is basically just not really played that much anymore. So more people were just favoring like the double Greninja build as it does overall better into stuff like Alteria and the Blaziken. Says that, bro, like the 1 Irida because you know you have NDD, so that's basically like where your second copy goes. And because you're replacing that additional Pokemon, you only have like 1 Cyrus, the 1 Mars, and then you want the double Cape down here. Because a lot of things play Rocky Helmet now, and if you're attacking like a Rocky Helmet of Suicune, you're like gonna be like guaranteed to just fade most of the time. So you definitely need those giant capes. Anyways, these are the 3 versions of Suicune. Obviously in these decks, like the tech options can change, like whether you want to play like specific ratios. However, let's move on to all Mega Absol decks, which let me just tell you there are quite a few. Moving on to Mega Absol, we have the Oricorio variant, which really popped off at the early in the meta. Right now, it's not the best deck, dude. It can still do good into the stuff like Alteria. I wouldn't be surprised to see some people actually bring it to rank, so I will showcase it off. You have the 2 Oricorios, the 1 Mega Absol, obviously the 2 Pichus to get the electric energy. This is going to be a pure dark deck, as well as that Dark Art for the extra 20. Pretty common to have 2 Cyruses, the 2 Professor Researches. Some people play 2 PCO, some people play 1 PCO, 1 Red, so that's a tech option. Copycat, red card, X speed. Some people play Leaf over X speed just in case for the Darkrai, and then you want to have the 2 giant capes down here. This deck was really fun, probably my favorite deck of the format when it was playable. However, let's move on to the other variants. Next up, we probably have the most common variant right now, which is going to be Hydreigon Mega Absol. This deck actually just won and has won multiple times, really big tournaments. So they are now playing the mini Absol tech, which is basically just a bent sniper. You know, we see this in Heatmore Blaziken. So that's just like a nice tech option in certain matchups. You have the 2 Hydreigons, bro, just better Rampardoses, Mega Absol, delete the Cyrus and stuff like that. 2 Professor Research, probably like 2 Copycats because of Rare Candy deck, obviously the Rare Candies. Sabrina Cyrus, some people play 2 Cyrus, some people play either. I like the Sabrina with the Hydreigon, makes a lot of sense. I also think Sabrina is extremely strong in the format. The 2 Pokeballs, the 1 red card, and the double Rocky Helmet just for that additional damage, making sure Hydreigon or Absol will be able to one-shot every single thing it does attack into. Yeah, so I think this is currently the best form of Absol. This is the one having the best results overall. And now we can move on to the more weird versions, which is going to be the Baby Absol. This is like, I think like the second most common variant right now, although there definitely is just so many variants to play. This is the Chingling with like the Tyrogue. Some people play 2 Tyrogues, some people play 2 Chinglings. And you just have so much room for supporters because every single base deck you basically have like one of each card. You have the double Rocky Helmet to put on the baby Pokemon, help win baby wars, you know, that additional damage before a Darkrai or the Absol end up going in. And yeah, this is a variant, you know. Chingling is just extremely strong. If you can like Chingling lock them out, go into the Mega Absol, dude, before they get evolve, get a good, you know, board state, the deck can definitely shine. Plus, like that 20 damage from the Tyro can easily help you knock out baby Pokemon, whether that be combined with a Darkrai chip or the Giovanni. So this deck is just doing good, bro. It's been doing good. And there are some versions that are seeing like a little bit more play than that, I feel like, right now. So we have this Poison Chingling version that is basically seeing, I feel like, more play than the Tyro one. This one is just taking advantage of like Poison Barbs, like the Nihilego damage, stacking up with like the Chingling attacks, you know, to disrupt your opponent. And not the best, because, you know, you do have like an energy problem. Like Nihilego is going to be that 2 energy, which is kind of annoying, especially if you go first. Like, it's very hard to manage the energy sometimes. Sometimes, you know, Nihilego are not just an attacker, but they're simply just there for the additional poison damage, or like sometimes like a sacrifice piece. And the deck is cool. You obviously do copycats for that consistency to find the poison, plus the Nihilegos, like the X speed, which is played on most ones. And the Poison Barbs, the Giant Cape. Giant Cape is obviously a tech option because you do have the Poison Barbs as well. Could be something like a PCL, Second Cyrus, a Sabrina, really whatever you want it to be. And we just have a bunch more, so let's get into them. The next one is actually going to be, the next few are going to be other poison variants. I feel like this Crowbat arceus one, bro, Crowbat EX, is definitely having a huge surprise. This got top 16 in the 700 plus person tournament. And yeah, Crowbat, you know, has a high HP. It's not able to get one shot by a lot of these megas. You have the Absol after these Crowbat attacks to go into to delete the Cyrus in case something was knocked out before that, such as a Nihilego, which is, you know, the poison damage just stacks up, bro. It lets Absol hit those 20 extra damage numbers, like the 100s, the 110s, with depending on how much you have, less the poison damage, you know, depending on if it's already ticking or if it takes after they attack into you. The Sabrina, the Cyrus, the X speed, the swap out the bad starts, and obviously the double copycat because it is a rare candy deck. I like this deck, bro. It's fun, not the most consistent sometimes, but it is still very cool to see. Another one is going to actually be a Naganel Nihilego deck. This is just more of like a 1-1-3 or a 1-1-2 version with the Darkrai or the Mega Absol. Double copycat to find the stage 1s. And yeah, it's just a different take on the thing. You're playing a stage 1 basically instead of a stage 2 that has more HP. As well as there is this weird Absol deck that actually ended up doing really good at a tournament. It's more of like a pair Absol one. You just have 2 Absols, 2 Mega Absols, and the Darkrai plus the 1 Chingling. Just thought I'd mention it because it has seen like one good result. It's not the most common variant because most people are just playing the Absol with the Hydreigon. They kind of like combine these two. So that's like basically what happened. But I just still wanted to talk about it and at least showcase in case somebody was interested in trying this list. And yeah, that basically does it for all the Absol lists. There's probably more like lists out there, but these are just like the top ones. I was right. I was forgetting one, dude. We have the Greninja Absol deck that actually kind of like took over, bro. The deck is definitely falling off. It doesn't have the highest win rate for multiple reasons. I mean, the deck is very inconsistent, bro. Like, you have like so many pieces that could just be pretty bad if you start like no swap cards. Anyways, Greninja, Chingling, Mega Absol plus Darkrai, just some of the best cards in the game. You have the Rocky Helmet, dude. You could do up to 60 chip damage a turn. Cyrus, double copycat, red card, etc. It's kind of like that new Exodia, bro, like the new Thanos deck. If you guys played back, we had the it was the Crowbat, Giratina, Arceus, Darkrai deck. This is kind of like the new version of that. This obviously with different Pokemon. It's like one of the best like and strongest decks ever if you draw every single right piece. However, inconsistent, bro. And sometimes like certain meta matchups can just be pretty bad for you, especially those bench snipers. The Samanobi, aka Greninja Oricorio, is back. This is actually just one of the 300 person tournament, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, the Greninja Oricorio, bro. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how. I mean, like Oricorio was annoying with the Gyarados. Obviously, Greninja Cyrus is strong. I really don't know how this deck won. However, bro, it won. I gotta mention it. I feel like it's just a deck that's always good, bro. I feel like this is like a kind of like similar deck to Dartina, bro. Ever since people started playing in the Celestial, it's kind of been meta ever since, and I feel like people kind of don't give it enough respect. So as I do, we have the Decidueye, still a playable deck, although it's definitely not as strong as it was, bro. You have some bad matchups into the meta. However, can farm those Absol decks 100%. You have the Decidueyes for the sniping. I know some lists are playing the Chingling. I personally think Chingling makes the deck way worse. I'm not a fan. I like to have at least 3 hull cards because you always want to see them in these certain matchups where you actually need them, for such as Suicune. or even dude, I forget the other one. But yeah, I mean, the main one obviously is going to be that Suicune matchup. You need to draw the Erica, you need to draw the Lily. Only having two, a little Mickey Mouse, sometimes you won't find them. That Chingling is also a dead card sometimes. I don't like the double Pokeball. I think this is the best version if you are playing Decidueye, even though, like I said, it's not as strong as it was during that week 1. We have Magnezone back. I feel like you can always tell if a meta is going to be pretty good if Magnezone is meta. We have the 1 Chingling as a tech option, the 2 Oricorios. This is probably the best Oricorio deck just because you have that electric synergy. You don't have to rely on something like the Pichu. And then you just have all those tech cards. This is probably the best deck in the Suicune. Suicune is just one of those decks of all times that can't really lose if it draws good. However, this is probably the best counter against it if I had to say that is meta relevant, because it also is pretty good in Alteria, Decidueye is kind of like a weird matchup, or it really depends. Like 2 Magnezones just obviously destroys like almost anything, and it can be good in like the Absol decks as well as you know what, dude, you guys know what I mean. It's just a strong deck in the format. Obviously we have the resident fire deck. Stokesard is gone. We now have Blaziken. The Hemore bench damage, very crucial for the success of Blaziken recently. Entei, not that good. And yeah, once people solve this list, some people play 2 Cyrus, some people play 1 Cyrus, 1 Sabrina. Some people play like an additional either May or a copycat. If you could play something like a Lily, which is actually pretty more common. Like usually people do play the Lily over the double Cyrus. I feel like this is the most standard build. Some people do change it up, obviously, kind of up to that personal preference. I think the Lily is broken, 210 HP plus the plus 60, dude. It is hard for anything that is not a mega to actually 2-tap you. And yeah, this deck is extremely strong. Like one of the most worst matchups is going to be Alteria, which is currently like the most represented deck in every single tournament, as well as sometimes those Greninja EXs can definitely be a problem. Overall, Blaziken is always one of those decks that has such a high power level that like it could be anything. So this is probably going to be definitely the most represented deck I feel like it ranked, as it is probably the easiest deck to play in the new meta. Speaking about Alteria, this is the best Alteria list. Some people play 2 Jirachi, some play 1 Chingling. It really is like matchup dependent, and the Indeedee is nice for the additional 20. The non-EX Alteria for the Oricorio out instead of the Sableye, which is like, you know, Alteria is like way better than the Sableye because it's like a less Pokemon brick. Anyways, some people play 2 Cyrus. This one is playing 1 Sabrina, 1 Cyrus, 2 Lucios over 2 balls because you want to play around other Chinglings. You have 1 ball, double Rocky Helmet on here. Overall, dude, with the 130 damage, the 190 HP, you have that huge, you know, damage power from the Alteria. You have even the sleep sometimes, bro. The Sing on the Swablu has definitely won me games that I should not have won. You have the Chingling for the stall. You have the Jirachi for the bench snipe. This is a deck that is very similar to Suicune, where it kind of has everything. However, unlike Suicune, you can only do 1 of these things at a time, so at least it is limited. However, it does have access to so many different plays and ways to win the game. On the topic of psychic decks, we have Espeon. Espeon just made a huge comeback. Actually just won a tournament going undefeated. Espeon is very good in the stuff like Magnezone and the Alteria. Loses hard the Hydreigon, Blaziken. Suicune matchup is extremely situational and has so much variety that it's probably even overall. Anyways, like this is kind of like the new version. You don't need the Sylveon's anymore because you have Copycat. Plus, kind of just hoping you draw it, dude. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like this deck too much as an Espeon person. I just feel like the deck is kind of clunky, dude. I feel like there's just way too many bricks for the deck, however, like it is very good. And I probably just gotten some bad lucks. I also don't like having decks that kind of have like an auto loss matchup to the Blaziken, like I did say earlier. You only have 2 EVs, 2 Espeons, the 1 non-EX Espeon as the Ori out. You have the 2 Indeedees plus the Giratina. I just started Giratina way too much, bro. I'm really sick of these one of Giratina decks just personally, bro. Either it's on the Suicune side or the Espeon. It just seems to always want to be in the active spot, bro. So, yeah, besides like 2 Cyrus, is the 1 Guzma, Copycat. Dawn is actually very clutch in this deck. I think Dawn is like one of the best tech options. I actually love always having it. You also have the double giant capes because you need Espeon at 140, bro. We talked about this earlier. 140 Pokemon need that giant cape on it ASAP, especially in this meta of Rocky Helmet Mega Pokemon. So this is definitely a strong deck. Don't get me wrong, by the way, I've been talking about it. It's just I miss the wisdom of the Sea and Sky Espeon. That was definitely my favorite version. This Chingling Arceus Crowbat also had a lot of success. It's a very fun Crowbat. You know, we'll be able to knock out a baby Pokemon with the ability. Arceus is still Arceus. That 130 is extremely nice. You have the 1 giant cape to put on Arceus for multiple reasons, because Rocky Helmet 140 HP. 2 Lucios, as you know, everything is 50 HP besides Arceus. the 1 ball, the 1 red card. This is just one of those like aggro decks. I want to say aggro, but you're actually like taking like 3 turns, but you have like the Chingling stall plus the Crowbat ability, hopefully. So you just have like a lot of things going for you while you do set up that Arceus. And it's a deck that I had a lot of fun with playing. And I definitely recommend checking it out if you are looking for something that's like kind of like off anti-meta. You also have this Jolteon variant you can play. Jolteon is a weird, it's just like every other electric deck. It's pretty average. However, if you can get that Jolteon in the active spot, dude, and get the earlier rush of like going first, E-switch combo with the Zero Aura, Jolteon's gonna pop off and be able to just, you know, sweep through things. And Oricorio is just Oricorio. Zero is just obviously there for the energy generation. Plus, you know, it's nice going first, knocking out a baby Pokemon like that. Double Cyrus because, you know, you have the bench damage potentially from the Jolteon EX, the Giant Cape, bro, the red card, the double E-switches, and the double copycat for that extra consistency. Not the best deck, dude, but if you're looking to play Jolteon, this is probably going to be the best variant in my opinion. Victreebell is also pretty fun, bro. If you want a really off-meta, really anti-deck, dude, this was more taking advantage of when Absol was super popular. Absol was still being played, you know, if they had Dragon variants, so you definitely can do stuff like that. So if you want a fun deck to play, I just thought I would include it, bro, because it has seen actually a pretty decent amount of top cuts. You have the Victreebell that could bring in any basic, or not just any basic, is it any basic? Yeah, any basic Pokemon to the active spot as long as obviously Victreebell's in the active. You have the Celebi to unevolve stuff like Torchic, Blazikens, or like, you know, anything else that doesn't matter relevant. The Chinglings is all double freaking, or yeah, double flute to take advantage of the Victreebell, the double copycat for the consistency. Plus like the tech options with like the Leaf Cape, the Lily, etc. I've seen some people taking that Lily for like a PCO just in case you do need to use on Celebi, which, you know, it could always come up, or even Chinglings when you do attack under the Rocky Helmet. Just a fun deck at the end of the day. Anyways, I think that does it for the videos. I think these are the top decks to play in ranked. I threw in a little bit of those fun decks such as the Arceus, Crowbat, the Victreebells at the end. If you always want to see more, you can go to the Limitless and try to search for some decks that have some top placings, such as like the Luxray, which I didn't include, or stuff like Guja or Golem, which you can check out. Actually, the YouTube videos, those are going to be the same list that I would recommend. Anyways, let me know if I did miss one, because I probably did end up missing like one top deck or something, just because sometimes, you know, you can't think of something in the moment. Peace out. Have a lovely day as always.